Rescue from Mount Baldy earlier. There were 2 students still missing. And Stu, did you locate these missing hikers?
Well, Michaela, I would say SkyFOX. It would be the Stu and crew located them. The sheriff's department was actually loading up their guys down at the base of the hill, down off of mountain where they're staged at. We just made our way up to the Mount Baldy area. We are at the top of Mount Baldy right now, and we were up here looking, and then we saw people hiking on there. Justin, our camera operator, pushed in on that gentleman right there, that young man actually, and you can actually even see on his shirt it says Downey Soccer. Now, the female, the girl that he's with, is just a little bit farther up on the hillside. She's also, as you get a little bit wider, you get an idea where these guys are.
Goodness.
They are way up here in an area that is very dangerous, and it is a good thing they didn't try to traverse this coming down at night. It would be very, very treacherous. Now, the girl actually, Justin, if you pan up, tilt up just a little bit, she's right there. That's the girl. Now, the sheriff's department, their helicopter is here as well. They're probably not sure how they're going to pull this off. I'm not sure if they're going to do a hoist rescue or how they're going to do it. Pan back down. Pan back down. You went right by her. Right there. There she is right there. And, so they might land and basically drop off there. They are, now I'm getting the nod, they are going to land the helicopter out there. They're going to let the rescuers out. They're going to walk over there and check these 2 out, but they're probably definitely going to get a helicopter ride down to the mountain this afternoon. Not in SkyFOX, but actually in the sheriff's department helicopter. Right now, he's actually landing. If you pan back up to the peak, Justin, just tilt up right there. So there's the helicopter. They're going to be dropping off those rescuers. They're going to make contact with those 2. I can tell you, just by looking at their attitude and the way they're walking down the hillside, these 2 probably very exhausted, maybe not sleeping very well, and hopefully they have water. But you can see them both now stopped and basically waiting for that rescue. But, I'm just saying, we saw them first, but I can guarantee you the sheriff's department would have found these 2 this morning for sure.
Stu, and kudos to you and the team in SkyFOX, by the way, for helping locate these young people. Can we just talk about the fact that, what a frightening night, right? You're out with a group, you get separated, the rest of your team is rescued, but somehow you've become separated. You think, okay, you'll be fine, just settle down. The darkness and the middle of the night, the boogeyman gets to you. Your worst fears kind of start to come in and torture you a little bit. This would not have been a fun evening for them.
Oh, you know what? This up here at night is probably, we don't know what the moon looked like, but I could imagine it completely black out here at night. Yeah. And you'd probably think that they weren't planning on that, so they probably didn't bring any flashlights.
Sure.
You're right, probably very scary. And, we know, actually this afternoon, Angie's our pilot, and she's telling us she's an avid hiker. She actually knew these trails, and when we came up here, she was the first one to say this is one of probably the most dangerous hikes, even in the daytime, to do, and especially at night. She was saying the same thing. Look on the sides of the hills as we're making our way up, just in case somebody might have slipped or fell. Thank goodness these 2 are okay, and as okay as can be. You can see they are very exhausted. They, they're just kind of stumbling around down there. They're the rescuers, so we're going to probably stay here and make sure that they make contact. But you know what? Thank goodness these 2 were found. So many other stories don't end with happy endings, especially up here.
No, and look, we understand that you guys were able to spot them. It's thank goodness that our pilot Angie is such an avid hiker. She knows what she's looking for. She's been out there in this kind of terrain. And again, like we're up close looking at this terrain, and it looks kind of flat and easy. It's not. We're high above it. It is the elevation, first of all. Your ground and footing is not good. Some of that ground is kind of covered in small pebbles, and it makes your footing really unsteady. I bet these kids, these young people, are so glad to know that help is on the way. And I kudos to them for freezing where they are, just staying still, not trying to make any moves, let the rescuers come to them. Hopefully they've been able to shout down to them that that's what they wanted to do. And boy, I bet they are glad that the sun is up and that they saw helicopters looking for them overhead.
You know, we were kind of curious because they didn't really wave us down. We flew by, we saw them. We were waving out the helicopter just to see if they were even interested. There wasn't any kind of reaction at all. So I kind of wonder if they even know that they were being looked for. We understand that they are going to make contact with the female, the girl first, and then assess her and probably take her down, and then come back and leave a rescuer with the guy, and come back for him later on. Probably a weight issue with the helicopter that they have. So that's what the plan is. But you can see those rescuers right now making their way around down there. That is not her. So we're going to keep an eye on that rescuer. He's probably going to make contact with the girl first, and then again they are going to go over and check out the guy as well.
So I'm curious who that other individual is. Who is the other individual in the shorts?
When we came up here, there were some hikers that were just up here, and that was what, you know, the discussion in the helicopter was, if these two were lost, well, they probably came in contact with other hikers that might have given them aid and or maybe a cell phone, but apparently cell phone service not so good up here. Beautiful shot by Justin right there, that little hero shot, but I'm pretty sure that is the girl, and you can see the hiker, the rescuer making contact right now. So they're probably going to talk, and I'm sure the discussion is my partner or my friend farther down the hill. So right now we know that they're safe. They've both been found, and so now it is just a matter of making sure that they're okay, hydrated, and then getting them to the helicopter and back down off the mountainside.
Wow, and even looking at her movement, it's probably been a rough night. Probably dehydrated, probably hungry, probably quite freaked out. You know, the body sometimes won't cooperate when you're in that kind of state of shock. And again, see the way she's climbing, it makes you realize it's not flat. She's having to and she's, by the way, she's got those young knees. That's a young person right there. But
and probably a soccer player.
Yeah, an athlete too, sure.
Yeah.
But again, it's amazing what fear and a little bit of fright and trauma can do to you. Okay, so this is somebody helping the female that was missing back up to where they can get her airlifted down. And you say that first rescuer is on his way to the young man who was a little further downhill.
They're a little further down the hill. Yep, the young man was a little bit farther. And he also stopped. I guess he realized what was going on. You can kind of see him sitting there now more towards the center of the screen. He's just on the hillside to the left just a little bit, Okay, he's going to go to the rescuer, but the actual young man sitting there pretty much on the right side. And you can also see, too, we've got this awesome camera, and, you know, the sheriff's department, they're just using their eyes and maybe binoculars, and you can see how just, you know, people blend into this hillside. So these rescues, very difficult, but thank goodness these two were found, and, of course, now the rescue taking place. And I'm sure we saw what appeared to be parents down at the base area off of mountain, and you just know that they're going to be so relieved to have their children back.
Look, you know, parents are used to their teenagers and their kids getting into shenanigans, and you know, you worry about them when they're outside of your care and when they go off and do things. But something like this is, you know, this is a big fear for parents. You know, when something like this happens, and I'm so glad, as you mentioned, this could have turned out quite differently. Your photographer is doing such a stellar job, as is Angie, the pilot. Maybe ask Angie if you don't mind. The temperature up there, we know that the higher you go, the elevation, the cooler it is. They would have had some cool temperatures overnight.
And you're up. Michaela was asking about the temperatures. You're up. Your audio's up. She just wants to know about the performance of the aircraft.
No, that's fair. Maria was even saying it probably got down to the 60s overnight. You know, these kids are likely in shorts and T-shirts. In fact, that young man looks like he's wearing shorts right there. It looks like he's putting on his backpack to get up to sort of meet the rescuer as well, climb up those rocks. I mean, they've been probably doing that all night. And imagine trying to do that in the darkness, right? Not sure where your foot's going to land, the next step you take. Hopefully they just stayed put where they were, and kind of, man, that's a rough night. Again, I go back to that.
That's kind of what we were assuming as well. They probably made it up to the peak or the flat area up there, spent the night up there, and then as soon as daylight kind of was, they felt it was safe, or they thought maybe nobody was coming to get them, or they realized that they were this separated. They started making their way down. That young man right there, like I said, when we flew over, we were pretty low and waving out the window, and he did look, but didn't make any kind of gesture like, hey, rescue or help, nothing. He was just kind of determined on making his way down the hillside. The lodge is not that far from this location, and probably that was their plan, to make their way back there.
To the lodge.
But yeah, but still, that would have been a good couple of hours worth of hiking, and then you can see, like you said, Michaela, you can actually tell how exhausted these two are as they're making their way up that hill and scrambling, trying just to keep his balance. But both of them rescued. They're going to make their way back over to the San Bernardino Sheriff's helicopter, and then maybe they'll all go down at once, or however they're going to do it, but definitely rescued this morning. And I'm sure that their parents down there are going to be very happy to see those children when they get off the helicopter.
A nice outing. Turns out to be a little bit more of an adventure than you were hoping for. Again, must be exhausted, must be confused, concerned, and then there's a certain amount of like, how did this happen? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't want everybody paying attention to this. But hopefully what they're just feeling is just grateful that somebody was able to find them. And thankful, by the way, that they're going under their own power, both of them. Both of these young people, likely part of a team, a soccer team, it sounds like, from Downey. Nobody was hurt. You could have easily fallen, twisted an ankle, broken a limb. Angie probably can tell you, anybody that hikes in these areas, it can be pretty precarious.
Oh, really? Well, now we're hearing that we're getting information from the sheriff's helicopter that they do have minor injuries. Both of them are possibly, and it makes you wonder if they actually sprained an ankle or have just twisted an ankle, because both of them seem to be walking on their own. But that might be one of the reasons why you see that that slow walk that young man is doing. So they're getting them off the hillside to an area where the helicopter is, and I'm not sure how immediate their medical needs are, but you can see that that young man's still walking on his own. But as you get the wider shots, you get an idea how far they still have to hike uphill.
Thanks for showing us that. That perspective really helps, because you forget how high up Mount Baldy is when you're zoomed in like that. Really pleased that SkyFOX was able to be part of this in the effort to get these two young people to safety. You guys alerted the sheriff's deputies who were in their own helicopter looking for these young people that had gotten separated from the rest of their team. Those other students and their coaches rescued and airlifted off the side of the mountain. These last two had some anxious moments while they waited rescue, but they've been spotted now and on their way to safety. We'll try to get you more, because apparently we have a camera down below where their parents are eagerly awaiting their arrival. We're going to take a short break.